How are you? Happy Tuesday. Hey Janice, how's it going? Lois, hello. As you're popping on, say hi ho so we know who's here. I gotta replace this mat. It is a mess. Barbara, hello. Gabrielle, how do you do? I was just checking to see if I had another mat. I know I bought one. I'll have to look for it. Okay, well, hello. Hey, Christine. Renee, hello. Well, it's 7:01, so let's hit it. So today we're going to talk about the Distress Micro Glaze one more time. Just one more time. And what I am going to show you is micro glaze using glossy paper, which in this case, and this is Tim Holt's technique, not mine. I'm just kind of reteaching it to you. Hey, Marilyn. He uses the alcohol ink cardstock, the gloss paper, and the reason this particular technique works with gloss paper is because gloss paper is clay coated. So the gloss is a clay. And then the paper underneath is an absorbent paper, just like heavy stock would be or anything like that. And that is why this technique is so interesting, because at first the ink sits on top of the paper, but when you heat it, it bakes it in. So this is a piece of gloss paper that I did the smoosh and dip technique with Distress oxides. I have a bunch of Distress oxides here. Hey, Kim. That I used, and this is what it looked like when I first did it. I'm going to do one so that you can see the technique, but when I put the micro glaze on it, look at how it brings out all of the colors, all the layers underneath, the purple way down at the bottom that's under the red, the green, all those colors, they just came out. All right, so I am going to quickly do a piece to show you how it looks. So here's just a piece of the alcohol ink cardstock, and let's just pick, I've learned a few things while I was doing the samples. So for me, the ideal number of inks to start with is about 4. Now that doesn't mean that that's all the colors that I'm going to use, but for the first layer, I found 4 works for me. All right. So these are oxides. This is scattered straw, broken china, twisted citron, and a little bit of saltwater taffy. All right, that's what we're going to start with. We smooshed them in. Now we're going to spritz a little water on, and we are going to dip the paper in, and I'm going to give it a little bit of water to move it around, and then I'm going to dry it. So when you are hitting it with the heat gun, you are essentially baking the color in. Okay, so you're baking in your first layer. So the ink is absorbing under the clay layer that makes it glossy, and you're heating it in as it's absorbing into the paper. So you might think that you could use various gloss papers, and you certainly can try them. What Tim was explaining was the difference in them, and if you find a good one, then awesome, that's what you should use. But he was saying that the way that the paper underneath the gloss layer absorbs the ink can make the difference, okay? So that is what would be different in the gloss paper. So now you can already see it's kind of oxidey, you know, kind of foggy. What happens is the color fades underneath the clay, I guess. That's how it was explained. So I am going to use a little bit of spice marmalade right in the same, I'm not even cleaning it up. And I'm going to put a little bit more saltwater taffy because it doesn't seem like we got a lot. Okay. Put a little water. And I'm going to do the next layer here. And we are going to bake in our next layer. And what's really interesting is that the more layers you do, as you can see this one I already did, you really just get a depth of color because you can see the colors underneath the colors. It's really amazing. All right, now I am gonna clean this quick here, and I am going to use, I'm actually gonna use purple. I don't usually. This is Shaded Lilac and some more Broken China. The blue always gets buried under the colors for some reason. I'm gonna have to use a darker blue. A little bit of water, and we're dipping. All right. And the last color we are going to use for our layer is going to be Fired Brick. And I'm gonna try to use a little bit. So let me look at the comments here. So Mary is saying, sort of Mary's saying, so the baking sets the layer so it doesn't mix with the next color. Yeah, the oxides don't really mix as quickly as the regular distress, and that's because of the pigment in the ink. So essentially, yes, what you're saying is true. I'm not sure about the real chemical combination that happens that makes you be able to see all the layers. But I think the way that I interpreted what he was saying, yes, basically, that is correct. Alrighty. I'm going to use a little bit more water because I just want to do some dips. Not too much red. Okay. Perfect. All right, so I'm gonna do one of the other ones that I did so you can see the magic happen as soon as I get this dry, and then I want to show you another technique using a stencil. So you can see on this one all the different layers of color that we used. We used 7 different colors. Now, Tim was saying I watched several demos on this, that for the sake of a demo, he typically uses rainbow colors because you can really see the bright colors in a demo, but you can do any combination. So you could do neutrals with browns and yellows, and you would get the same effect. You just have to layer, 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 layer. All right, I'll put that one aside. All right, now here is one that I did earlier, and we'll use the Distress Micro Glaze just like we did last time. I have a clean sponge, and if you watched before, it fits right in. Give it a twist. Tim always says, don't churn butter in here. Just get a little bit of glaze on. And then you're going to work it into the sponge. All right, now here we go. This is where the magic happens. Marianne. Okay, watch this. So what this does, the microglaze kind of rubs off the clay. That's kind of how I'm interpreting what's happening. I mean, because there's half and half, and you can see on my mat a little bit. It's probably the oxidation from the oxide is coming off too. But look, that is side by side. And then we'll go ahead and finish. And just with that little bit of glaze that I had on the sponge, you don't need a lot. So after you've coated with the microglaze, see, you do get some of that oxidation, that chalky on your sponge. You'll take a soft, clean cloth. My flour sack cloth is not that clean, so I'm not going to use it, but just a soft paper towel and buff it. Give it a little buff. That buffs off the rest of the microglaze. And then as it dries, it evaporates, so there will be no waxy film or anything. All right. And look at that. Look at how you can see all those layers. It is simply amazing to me, because before it was this frosty, I mean, it still is very pretty, but it's so frosty that basically you can only see the top layer. On here, you can just see all those layers underneath. Even under the red, you can see where the blue is. All right, now the other thing you could do if you were wanting to use this as a background on a card or maybe a tag or something like that, you can take a stencil and if you put this here, probably should get a new sponge. Let's do that, just so that it works out nicely. All right, new sponge. A little twist of microglaze. And just keep in mind, put your lid back on because it does evaporate. It's not like Vaseline where it'll stay there forever. Okay, now we are going to do this just through the stencil. Look at that. Mary's asking, does this technique only work with oxides? This particular technique on the gloss paper, yes, works with oxides. It's because of the oxidation, the way it mixes with the gloss of the paper. Ta-da! Isn't that awesome? It's just simply amazing to me. So let's take a look. These are the ones that we've already done. This is the one that we just did. And I did some good layers. Let me just hit it with the heat gun. You have to make sure that the ink is dry. All right, and if you want, you can dab it up, but make sure it's dry. So a couple of things I'll repeat, and something new that I learned while I was doing the research on this particular technique this week. This microglaze works with water-soluble mediums. Watercolors, watercolor pencils, watercolor markers, inks, sprays, all the things that are water soluble except for the Distress crayons. And I would imagine any kind of water soluble crayon. Okay, and from what Tim said was there's something in the way that the microglaze reacts to the crayon wax, that it just totally removes the crayon, so it's like removes it. And it has to be on a porous surface. All right. So heavy stock, watercolor paper, this gloss paper, craft heavy stock, tags made out of the mixed media heavy stock, not Yupo paper or any kind of paper like the Duralar plastic, not that paper. It won't work on that. All right. Okay, let's just do this last one here because these layers that I did were just so pretty. I want to see how it is. All right, here we go. Let's make some magic over here. Look at that one. I think that might be my favorite so far. All right, we'll give it a little buff with the paper towel here. Get that excess glaze off. Oops. And voila, look at that one. All right. There it is. That is it for today, ladies. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, and remember, when you use it, the microglaze and a stencil, as long as you wipe it off right away while it's still wet, you can just wipe it with a paper towel. If for some reason you let it dry on your stencil, hand sanitizer or alcohol will take it off. I know, it's like a treasure hunt, isn't it? You'll never know what you find under there. Yeah, the colors are just, the colors, the way that they come out after the microglaze, it's just unbelievable. Amazing. All right. If you don't have any questions, I'll say thanks for joining us. Don't forget, we have Scrappy Chat on Saturday at 9:30. We will also have the reveal of the cards that we'll be making in the Nightmare Before Christmas Spellbinders event this month in October. We'll be showing those, and that will be up for sign-ups. I finished those cards. I'm excited for you to see them. And that's it. Come in and crop with us. And we will be talking to you soon, of course, next Tuesday, right here at the same time, 7 o'clock, for another fabulous technique. I don't know quite yet what it's going to be, but it will be a good one. All right, so everybody, thanks for joining. Have a great Tuesday evening. Continue to enjoy this fabulous weather that we're having. And we will be talking to you soon. Don't worry, Susan, you can catch the replay. All right, everybody. Have a great week.